again, rail fans. As you probably know by now, Tampa can be quite the hot spot if you know your way around. Although I say this a lot, I usually head to Lakeland or the S-Line for more mainline action, but when I only have a few hours to go and shoot trains around the area, Tampa is the closest and the best spot for me to go to. So in this video, we're going to look at some Tampa trains, specifically locals, and their everyday jobs around the bay. L779 is a morning usual, leaving Tampa for Plant City and switching customers on the S and A lines before returning to Yeoman Yard around lunchtime. On this cool Monday morning before Thanksgiving, we'd catch 779 at Falkenberg Road, just east of Tampa, where the crew would have orders to switch metal processors. The job would be easy today: pull one empty out from the spur, add it to the consist, and continue north. Since the empty was to be placed at the front of the train, the conductor would tighten the brakes on the first two cars of the consist and tie them down just west of the crossing. Now the crew can begin their switching with just the locomotive. After unlocking and throwing the switch and derail, our locomotive CSX 6557, a rebuilt Jeep 40-3, can couple up to the empty coil car.
Good, stretch it. Stretch it. Stretch, three step, 6557.
These cylindrical cars are designed to hold massive coils of steel and protect them from the elements with a unique covering built into the car. Here at Metal Processors, all that's needed to unload the cars is a paved ramp and a heavy-duty forklift to lift the coil and move it into their warehouse. Although the spur is only big enough for 2 or 3 cars at most, Metal Processors handles over 10 cars a week delivered by locals like this L779 and yard jobs out of Yeoman.
Please 3 clear. Back it all the way out. Back all the way out. 3 more. 2.
With the empty now out of the spur, the conductor can now reposition the derail and line the switch back for the main line so the engineer in his empty coil car can reunite with the rest of his train.
Lock for the main clear, right. Jump it in. 10-40, get a gauge down, line long. Six more, we'll couple. Couple 6. 4 more. 4 to go. Good little bump on it. Good, stretch it one more time for me. Good stretch, 3 step. 3 step provided, 6557. Brakes on it. All right, charging them up.
With a quick check of air pressure for the brakes and a good couple with the rest of the train, L779 is off for Market, Plant City, and points north.
Set, release, both sides look good and clear. You can release the 3 step. Alright. Release the 3 step, 6557.
Back into Tampa we'd go with word of 3 trains leaving out of the west end of Yeoman Yard, using the last 2 miles or so of ex-Seaboard Main Line. The once mighty double track isn't considered main line anymore, but yard leads, controlled by the Yeoman Yardmaster. However, even though the tracks may have lost their pompous title, they're still quite busy, negating the need for an east and west main, one for the port of Tampa at Hooker's Point, and one for the Clearwater Sub, which turns north at TN. First up this morning would be Y192, a yard job using a single Jeep 40-2 to haul their short string of cars down the port lead on what is known as the East Main. The dialing sound and voice coming from the radio you hear is Y192 remotely throwing the switches at 34th Street, which create a crossover just before the two tracks split ways.
Switches reversed. Switch is normal. Switch is normal.
Right behind the 192 would be L791, the Clearwater local departing Yeoman after making a sunrise run to Tampa. He'd be right behind the yard job utilizing this piece of double track, now traveling down the hill on the West Main, which he'll take to turn north at 34th Street and TN. We wouldn't stay to see this, however, as I had a shot in mind just a few miles north at Sulphur Springs, where the train would quickly catch up to us. Since the Clearwater sub is all dark territory after TN, an EC1 is mandatory to operate on the subs. Since there's no signals or detectors on the line, the dispatcher can't see the exact location of where the train is, so an EC1 is needed, which is railroad terminology for a copied permission slip from the dispatcher.
EC1 number 77262 77262 112023 at the S841.0. L79120 CSXT 6537 JS5 Bosnia on the copy, circling line 1A. 1A, operate main track, south direction from the NASTN main track to the milepost SY856.0 Main. Alright, that's a good copy, 1108 AHW, over.
That entire conversation between L791 and the JF would tell us that 791 had trackage all the way up to the milepost SY856 from TN in effect at 11:08 a.m. Beating the train to Sulphur Springs would be easy, and I'd have about 10 minutes to set up my shot here at the Steel Trestle Bridge over the Hillsborough River. Built by the Tampa Northern in 1906, the bridge sees pleasure craft along the river all day long with a handful of local trains in the mix. Speed over the bridge is 25 miles per hour as trains either prepare to stop to throw the switch at Sulphur Springs towards Brooksville or take the turnout onto the old Tampa and Gulf Coast Main to Clearwater and St. Petersburg. Hearing the train not far ahead of us, I decide to follow the 791 a little bit further down the line, as once again they'd get an EC1 from the dispatcher, this time from Drew all the way down to Clearwater.
EC1 number 77486, date 11/20/23, location SY855.5, train ID L79120, engine 6537, employee JS5 listening, circle line 1A, operating the main track, both directions, between the SY856.0 main track and the South Clearwater Yard Limits main track, over.
During this time, 791 would have to significantly slow down, which would give us time to set up at Sheldon Road, a very familiar spot for me. This crossing is only about 20 minutes away from my house, and although I've passed it over 100 times in recent memory, I've never once seen a train here. That is until now, as L791 notches up his train before turning south at Oldsmar for Safety Harbor, Largo, Clearwater, and the Bay. Driving back towards Sulphur Springs, we'd pull off to catch L755, light engines at Armenia Avenue, heading towards Drew Park. This train has become a lot less appealing to me recently, as most of the time its morning run to Drew is light engines. In an unusual decision by CSX, a new local was added profiled L782, a midnight run of auto-rack loads to Drew, returning engines light to Yeoman well before dawn. So now L755 has become the backhaul of said racks and will usually only carry cars for Tampa on the return trip. A train that hasn't changed at all is the Brooksville local L781, which still runs Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, now commonly seen with 2 CM44s and 20 car cuts for Cemex in Brooksville. On this night, he'd have cement, with cars for Pasco Iron and Metal and 84 Lumber in the mix. These are just a handful of trains one can catch in Tampa, ranging from a couple in an hour or so to dozens in a single day. So until we meet again somewhere trackside, this is Christian from Multicolor Films. End of transmission.